Hey everyone, Monk here, and finally I got the Magplar Heavy Attack build working again for the new patch, and the good news is that not only is working again, but now it got even better. So when I was testing this build earlier on PTS, I was really not happy with the results. But then on live I managed to do some further adjustments and all of a sudden everything just came together. So before I start with the build, if you are new to my channel and if you do like the video, then please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any future videos. Also, if you're interested, I will leave a link of Unified Gaming Discord in the info. That is where we discuss a lot of PvE and PvP theory crafting. And this build will also be available on Unified Gaming's website in written form, so please make sure to check that out. Now I will cover the build starting with races and then followed by gear, skill changes, CP, and at the end, rotation. So to start with the races, as we know, there have been some recent racial changes, and that clearly shows that there are three clear winners dominating the DPS numbers: Khajiit, Dunmer, and High Elf. All three are within 1 to 2% of each other, so if your Magplar is already one of these races, then you have nothing to worry about. Stick with what you currently have and you will be fine. For the Mundustone, we are using Thief. Considering the overall crit nerf, Thief is the only way to make up for that loss, since crit damage sources more or less are still same except from the CP, but more on that will be covered in the CP section. And now for the gear, we have one new set making its entry in the build, and many of you had already asked me in the past if that set can be used. So I went back to the drawing board with all set options, and in this new build, finally we are using Undaunted Unweaver. Now this doesn't mean that Undaunted Infiltrator is not good anymore. The set is still good, but at the end it lost to Unweaver by about 6% overall damage. There were a couple of other good sets such as Acuity and Noble Duelist, which did come close, but in the end I got the best results with Unweaver. Infallible Aether once again managed to retain its spot, and for the monster set we are still using Zaan, at least for the dummy passes. However, in real situations where you cannot be in melee range all the time, I will highly recommend to use Maw of the Infernal. The set provides similar damage number, but not at a cost of always being into melee. For the backbar, we are still using our tried and tested Maelstrom staff. The boost to light and heavy attack from this set is just unparalleled. So this is how the final setup looks like. Head and shoulder, 2 light pieces of Zaan or Maw, then 5 pieces of Infallible Aether on body, and finally 3 jewelry and 1 lightning staff of Undaunted Unweaver. All body pieces will be light and divine, while the jewelry pieces will be bloodthirsty with spell damage enchant. Front bar lightning staff will be precise with Fireglyph, and back bar Inferno staff will be infused with the Berserker enchant. For the food, we have a couple of options now, since base health is now increased up to 16,000, and with a couple of other passives, our health numbers are close to 20,000 even without food. So we can basically just run a green food for the max amount of magicka possible. Or you can still use the RTM pickled fishball for the max amount of health and mag possible from a buy-stat food, or a cheaper variant of this melon-based parmesan pork. So take a pick of any of these foods and you are good to go. Next, I will quickly cover the skills and rotation because we do have some surprises here compared to my last build. To start with, on main bar we have Inner Light, giving us Major Prophecy and more importantly about 7% max magicka. Then we have Puncturing Sweeps, and basically this is also here just to passively provide us with 10% buff to our crit damage as long as we have an Adric ability slotted. Next, we have a Solar Barrage, the bread and butter skill of this build. It's a 10-second skill which upon activation gives us Empower for the duration as well as Minor Sorcery for 20 seconds. That means as long as this skill is up, which is basically always except in the execute, all our light and heavy attacks are doing 40% more damage. Then we have Barb Trap. This skill has now made its way to the front bar. Since we are using Undaunted Unweaver only as a front bar set, and the set requires us to use a stamina based ability, so Trap is what we will be using to proc this set. Last skill on this bar is Purifying Light. Think of this as a burst skill similar to Blast Bones or Deep Fissure. The skill soaks up to a certain amount of damage over 6 seconds, and then releases all of it back. This skill alone makes a really good part of our DPS. For the ultimate, we are using Ice Comet on both parts. It's a really good ultimate with decent damage and passively giving us 2% extra Magicka from Mage's Guild passives. Now on the back bar, once again, we have Inner Light for its passives. And then we have a new entry here, Radiant Operation, or more commonly known as Jesus Beam. So the idea is to use this skill after target health drops below 20%, because that is when this skill is at its best. Even though the skill is used only for the last 20%, and still it tops up any damage skill on our parts. Next we have his Mystic Orbs, one of the best AoE damage and support skill in the game. And since we are using a heavy attack based build, sustaining this on a dummy parse or in a real situation is no problem at all. Fourth skill on this bar is Blazing Spear. Once again, a very good AoE damage and sustain support skill, but also for the 10% crit damage buff from passives. And last skill on this bar is of course no surprise to anyone, Unstable Wall of Elements. Combined with Maelstrom Staff, the buff to light and heavy attack damage is still unparalleled after 5 years. So make sure to keep this up on priority all the time. And now I will explain the rotation as quickly as possible, because we did change a few things from the last build, and this is a static rotation, so it should be quite easy to learn. So to start with, we buff ourselves with Spell Power Pot and Solar Barrage, and then we throw an orb from the back bar. Now while we are moving towards a target, we drop the Ice Comet and immediately the trap, and then you swap to the back bar and put down the Wall of Elements and Spear. Now we go back to the main bar and immediately cast Purifying Light followed by 2 Heavy Attack, and then we use again Solar Barrage followed by Purifying Light and then swap to the back bar. So this was so far our opening rotation. From this point on, we will have a fixed rotation till we hit 20%. So basically it will be Wall of Elements, Spear, Bar Swap, Solar Barrage, Trap, Bar Swap, Mystic Orbs, Bar Swap, 1 Heavy Attack, Purifying Light, Bar Swap, and then rinse and repeat. Now it goes without saying to make sure that you do a light attack between every skill and bar swap. So for the second part of rotation, from 20% is quite straightforward. Once you hit 20%, then only 3 skills will be used: Jesus Beam, Trap, and Wall of Elements. So make sure that your Trap and Wall of Element is up, and then beam the target all the way down to 0. If you do get an ultimate during this period, drop it with a bar swap when you refresh the Trap or Wall of Elements. And this is as easy as it gets. So let's go through the CP quickly, because that is completely changed as compared to the last build. I will post the blue CP I used in the info section below, and this distribution was done for about 1190 CP. So if you have less than that, then I will recommend to check the CP distribution guide video from Skinny Cheeks. He has explained really well as to in what order you should use your CP if you're not above 1100. I will leave a link of the video in the description below. One thing, however, I would point out that the Backstabber CP, don't use it unless you are sure you will be 100% behind the boss. Especially cases like arenas or Sunspire, in those places use Deadly Aim rather than Backstabber. So I hope I have covered everything, and in case if you have any further questions, feel free to post them below in comments and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Other builds are also work in progress, so see you soon in the next one.